Welcome to another episode of Painting with Papa, and we are going to paint more animals than Noah's Ark. So we already have see if you can guess what we already have. We already have giraffes, and we're going to make their ears longer. And we have Mrs. Noah and Noah, and they aren't finished yet. We have to finish them, and we have to make them a little bit smaller because they are a little bit too big. They should only come up to about the shoulder of the giraffe. And then we have an angel, and angels can be as big as they want. And we have another angel, a littler one up here. And we have painted an elephant down here. And we're going to paint another elephant. And the second elephant is going to be smaller than this one because he's further in the distance, or she is further in the distance. And the second elephant will be facing a different direction and will look smaller to us. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up our paints. And we have a lot of paints. Sometimes I mix them up on this hawk. And then I can hold this hawk and get the paint off of the hawk. And you can see I got some paint there that I didn't quite use up, so I'm going to have to clean this hawk off. It's called a hawk, just like the bird, the hawk. This is called a hawk because people like to train hawks, and it's called falconry. And the hawks will sit on a little stand or on their arm, and they hold them like this. So they call this a hawk. And in Spanish, that's un halcón. And here are all of our paints. Got a whole big carpenter's box full of paints. You can see we've got a lot of different paints. These are all the different color paints we got. There's a lot of them. And we're going to pick some to mix up today. Can you see all these paints I have here? Well, since we're going to be painting an elephant, we are going to be looking for a couple colors. We're going to be looking for a blue, and a white, and a black. That's not a black. It'll take me a minute to find the black. Okay. We're going to use a little bit of Viridian because the elephant is walking through a little bit of greenery. And Viridian sometimes goes on as a base coat on your paintings. And we're going to use some cadmium yellow because our elephant's got just a little bit of a tinge of that because of the lighting in the forest. And we're going to use some vermilion, which is like an orange, because the elephant's got a little bit of vermilion on its back because of the lighting in the forest. And we're using a cobalt blue. And this one's hard to open, so I have this little pliers. We call that a channel lock. And we're going to open it. We're going to move it to a different channel and open it. And it opens it. And this way we don't mess up our tube. You see this channel lock has different channels. Okay, you can see we have our orange, or I called it vermilion, our white. It's a titanium white. Can you remember these colors? What is that one? That's like a bright orange yellow, and that's called cadmium yellow. And this one's black, that's ivory black. Remember this one here? It's green. That's called viridian green. And this is blue, and that's cobalt blue. And cobalt blue can really change the way it looks when you mix it with white. So I'm going to mix some linseed oil in there, but it's a special kind of linseed oil, and it is called stand oil, and it dries slower than regular linseed oil. Okay, so now we're going to mix in a little bit of stand oil, and different painters do this differently. Some people just like to set their medium, their oil, next to the paint and then dip it in the oil and dip it in the paint. Some people like to do it that way. So I'm going to show you that. I'm setting it next to the black, and I'm setting it next to the titanium white, and I'm setting it next to, remember what it is? It's blue. It's cobalt blue. And we're setting it next to the yellow, the orange yellow, and we're setting it next to the orange or vermilion, and next to the black, and next to the green, which is called viridian. And this yellow is cadmium yellow. Okay, now we're using kind of a lot of oil this time around because it's not the first coat that we're painting on the painting, and it's not the second coat that we're putting on the painting, but it actually is a third coat. So we want a little bit more oil than we did in the first coat. Okay. We gotta make sure we screw our cap on our oil real good so it doesn't spill. And now we are going to dip our paintbrush, which is, this is just a brush for getting the medium out of the tube. And we're gonna add some mineral spirits. And the kind of paint you're going to use is probably not going to be this. You're probably going to be using a watercolor or an acrylic paint. And that's fine. Those are great to paint with. Some people much prefer to paint with those than with oils. But you have to mix those up too. Okay, now you see what we got here to mix the paints up with? We've got this tool, and it's got an unusual curvature and shape to it. And this tool, you can tell I've already mixed other paints, but these are dry. This tool is called a back filler, because it's used to fill in the back, use the back of the tool to fill in plaster, mortar, paint. So it's a tool used in construction, but we're going to use it in painting. Okay, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to mix up my paint, my oil paint, and my stand oil, and looks like I got a little twig in there. You know, when Van Gogh was painting, he accidentally painted a grasshopper into one of his paintings. The artist's name was Vincent Van Gogh, and he was a great, great oil painter. but he was working fast one day and he painted a grasshopper. Grasshopper got caught inside of his painting. Okay, so, looks like I got a couple of them there. I'm gonna have to work on this for a minute. Okay, can you see that? I've mixed most of the colors up already, but you see there's still a little bit of oil there. And I'm mixing the oil, the mineral spirit, and the paint that came out of the tubes, the oil paint. So we are going to need all these paints to paint our elephant. Yep. We need all these paints. And this last one here is black, and I have to try to keep it away from my yellow orange. Because otherwise it's going to turn my yellow orange into a different color. I don't want that to happen. Not yet. That yellow orange was called cadmium yellow. And now we're going to pick out the paint brushes. I got a lot of them, don't I? Okay, we're going to pick out the paint brushes we're going to use. So we're going to use this pointed round with the wood handle. We're going to set that aside. And we're going to use this very long angle brush. It's an angle brush. It needs a little bit of cleanup of those bristles. We're going to have to trim those bristles back a little bit. And we're going to use this little spotter brush. What else are we going to use? I'm looking for a brush called a filbert. And this rounded brush like this, that's a filbert. But this filbert is too big. So I'm looking for a smaller filbert. Can you help me find one? See if you can help me find a smaller filbert brush. Here's a filbert. See, it's rounded, but this one is too big too. So I need to find a smaller filbert brush. Ah, here's one. And this one needs cleanup too because all these bristles are sticking out like the hair of a wild man. So we got to trim that back and clean it up. This is a liner brush, incidentally. It's got a little bit of a whip on the end of there. Some of them can have a much longer whip on the end of it, but we're not going to use that right now. And this one is a new brush, so it's still got that plastic casing on it. And it looks like a spotter brush. It's pretty close to being like a spotter brush, but it's called a petite round brush. It's for detail. So, and you can see I left the label on it that says petite round. And that number is a number that indicates the size of this brush. Okay. You see this brush also, the liner brush, has a number on it. The number number is 10 backslash 0. This one is 12 slash 0. This one, the spotter, is 3 slash 0. It's thicker. It's much, the brush is much thicker, so the number is smaller. This brush, the 10 slash 0, is very thin. The number is higher. This one is even thinner and finer, and the number is higher, 12 slash 0. This short little liner brush has a tip that you probably almost can't even see. It's so fine. Very tiny. And that one is 18 slash 0 because that tip is so tiny. But you need it sometimes if you're painting little people, little pictures.